Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. We're on site at On the Record at O'Brien and Levine, and we've had the pleasure, John. I'm with John Friedman as my co-host, main host, and John, it's always a pleasure.
Mark, the pleasure is all mine. It's been a wonderful day thus far, and our next guest, I'm sure, will be very interesting, and I'm looking forward to what Michael Gillis of Gillis and Bykowski has to say. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, Michael.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And you focus your practice in a quite interesting area. You deal with dram shop and social host liability. I guess responsibility as well.
That's correct.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your practice and what is a dram shop case?
Well, our practice is primarily civil litigation, some criminal litigation, just about every type. But I have a sort of a subspecialty in liquor liability, and for the past 20 years I've chaired formerly ATLA, now American Association for Justice's Liquor Liability Litigation Group, which is a national organization of attorneys who deal in this particular field. The field itself, social host and liquor liability, deals with the safe service of alcohol at both commercial and non-commercial areas. And that's how it's broken up. Dram shop is primarily commercial. Social host is something you'd have in your house or something like that, not commercially, not for-profit type thing.
I'm sorry, is there a distinction in the event that I hire a bartender in my home?
There's a distinction between social host and dram shop in that for years, up until very recently, the Massachusetts, for public policy reasons, has treated a homeowner different than a commercial establishment. If you're doing this for profit, obviously they expect you to take more effort to serve safely because you're making a commercial business out of it. You have to train your employees, so forth and so on. A social host is not someone who's doing it for profit, having people in the house, and for up until very recently, a case we'll talk about later, they've pretty much said that if you don't provide the alcohol for the people in your house,
Right.
you're not responsible for them. That it's sort of, it's the key to all these cases has to do is who has control over the alcohol, and therefore if you have control over the alcohol, you have the responsibility to make sure that it's served safely. It sort of started within the last 10 years with a statutory change where you were hearing before of these people who were hosting parties. You'd have the parents who want to be the cool parents and allow their upper teenage kids, 18, 19, 20, to have a party in the house, all with good intentions that the kids will stay here and so forth, and they allow them to drink in the house.
Right.
And then those kids, I call those the adult minors, 18 to 21, and some of them are minors, 16 to 18.
Right.
And then all of a sudden someone leaves the house and gets in a horrific accident and someone's killed. The old cases, I think it was McGuigan, parents gave everything but the alcohol. They gave the orange juice for the vodka, they gave the room downstairs, they did all this. And under those laws, one of the kids left the house and actually killed a police officer on his way home. And they said the social host didn't have the responsibility. But the Giuliano case and the criminal statute that says now you're responsible criminally if you have one of these parties.
Wow.
But it's interesting. It's probably the only place in the law you'll find where you can be criminally responsible, not civilly, because the courts haven't gone that far yet. But in the Giuliano case, which is about 4 years ago, the court did not extend it to a party where a minor was hosting a party for other minors in the house. But Judge Botsford's dissent in that made it very clear at that point that if the legislature didn't do something, we will probably do it at the next right case. So I think in the very near future, you're going to see the Supreme Court or the legislature say, if you knowingly host a party for underage kids in your house and you allow those kids to leave, they get in an accident, you will be civilly responsible you can be civilly responsible for that.
What about if kids bring alcohol in? So you're up, and again, what is your son wants to have or daughter wants to have a party? You say, okay, I'll be here. You're going to stay on premises, and all of a sudden you come down to check, and all of a sudden you see cans of liquor and cans of beer and liquor. Are they now on notice, even though they didn't provide it?
All of these cases, as are all liquor liability cases, are very fact specific. And it all comes down to a reasonableness standard, standard tort sort of, and I think it should. I mean, you can't make one law, I don't think, that fits all molds. I mean, there's one thing where the parents know the kids are bringing it. It's another thing where they come home in the middle of the party, and it's another thing where they're off in California, didn't even know about it. There was a case, wasn't even a party, but, parents were away for New Year's, had a 20-year-old niece at the house, and, next morning someone's doing drugs and things went horribly wrong. I mean, certainly the parents never, there wasn't even
Condoned
a
it,
child.
never,
Right.
So I think it's just going to be a pure, reasonable standard. But I think once you become aware of it, if you come down and you don't do anything, I think you'll be opening yourself up to some form of liability.